Welcome to your monthly Prominence market update for the month of March 2024. My name is Andy Beal with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties of Florida, and I'm here to share with you the latest statistics and information about home sales in the Prominence community. Not only am I a real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties of Florida, but I'm also your neighbor and an owner in Prominence. So I have a firsthand understanding of the market values and goals that we all possess as owners in Prominence. Got a lot of information to cover and a lot of different types of properties to discuss here in Prominence. And so for your convenience, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice in the timeline below that there are chapter markers. So if you're a detached single-family homeowner, you'll find the chapter dedicated to the statistics around detached single-family, as well as A unit, B unit, and C unit. So I wanted to make that easy for you, and then you'll find the conclusion at the end, just unpacking my overall thoughts of the Prominence community. So let's dig right into the numbers. We're going to focus on the three main real estate categories of active, pending, and sold. And so we're going to start with detached single-family homes. And so as you'll see here, we're looking at the active properties. Currently we have 12 that are active in Prominence from a detached single-family home standpoint. So list price on these is sitting at an average of $2.1 million, $711 per square foot, and an average days on market of 123. Thing to note about these properties is, on average, these 12 have seen just at a 3.5% price change as far as lowering their price from their original list price. So that's something to keep in mind. And we have some beautiful properties that are currently available in Prominence right now. When it comes to the pendings, so we're going to take a look at the pendings. When it comes to detached single families, there are 0. So right now we don't have any single family homes that are under contract, but we do want to take a look at the solds. So the sold category I'm focusing on is going to be the last 6 months. So that's dating back to, as of this recording, October 1st of last year through today. The number of homes that have actually closed on their sale when it comes to detached single families is sitting at 5. So we've had 5 homes close, and here's the numbers for those. The sold prices on those are at $1.882. The sold price per square foot is $692 a foot. And then the sold to list ratio is 92.74. But you'll notice the sold to original list, so when the seller actually put their home on the market for the very first time till the moment that it sold, factoring in all of the different price cuts that it may have taken to get the home under contract, it's looking at an 87.65%. Now, this number is slightly lower than what I've been tracking over the broad scope of 30A in general, but it's not off a ton. We've seen somewhere around the 91 to 92% range as far as sold homes to original list prices when it comes to all of 30A in general. And so as we look at the average days on market for these sold properties, they're sitting at 87. So not a bad number. 87 days on market for the sold properties is right in line with 30A overall. Average days on market for all active listings up and down 30A as of this recording is 124 days. So getting those homes moved in with under the 3-month mark is a pretty good marker. All right, so next we're going to look at the triplexes. And so as we look at the A units, there are currently 10 that are on the market. And as we look here at the statistics, sitting at a list price just under $1.1 million. List price per square foot, $624 a foot, and an average days on market of 136. Now, I will say, I don't know that I would factor the average on this one. I would look more at the median simply because we do have a single A unit out there that's been sitting on the market for 516 days. So that's skewing our average pretty substantially. So I would factor more toward this median number of 69 days on market instead of that 136 when it comes to A units. So those are the actives. Now let's take a look at pendings. We have 0 again in the A units that are currently pending. And so if you own an A unit and you're willing to price it aggressively, the chances are you could outpace some of these that are currently sitting on the market. But as we look at the sold A units over the last 6 months, we've had 4 that have actually closed. And from a statistical standpoint, sold price on those at $988,750. So as you look at these sold properties, $988,750, sold price per square foot at $565, sold to original list at $93,500. So from the A unit standpoint, that sold to list ratio at $93,500 is right in line with the 30A average, and then 102 days on market. And again, you have one that's really skewed as you look down here toward the bottom at 228 days that one actually sold. So it skewed this number quite a bit. So that median number of 79.5 days is probably a little bit more accurate to the true market timing of these properties. But the B units, actives, we currently have 12 B units that are active with an average list price of $1,018. And so as we looked at the A units, we were at $109. We're $70,000 to $80,000 less on average for the list price on these B units versus the A units. And so 606 price per square foot, 127 days on market. But again, we do have a single unit out there that's skewing that number. So 107 is probably more accurate in terms of the active properties, days on market. So when it comes to the pendings, we actually do have one B unit that's pending. So as you look at this unit, it was listed at $975. And this is going to be the theme. And this is not just focused on Prominence, but this is the theme up and down 30A right now. The sellers that are willing to be a bit more aggressive and basically undercut the competition from a pricing standpoint, we are seeing some high-end activity. And as you can see it here, this property was 11 days on market before it went under contract. And as a result of that, and pricing it the aggressive way that they did, they got that home under contract. List price per square foot of $580. Now, obviously, we don't know where the contract price is on this thing. We won't see that until this property actually closes. But this is a prime example of where the average list price for the other B units is sitting just a little over $1 million. This one comes in at $975 and gets a contract in place. And so as you are considering the possibility, if in fact you are considering the possibility of selling your Prominence property this year, you'll want to factor this in because interest rates are still creating a bit of a downward pressure on buyers. And if buyers are going to be financing their purchase, they're going to be looking for any way possible to save as much money as they can. And so depending on where you're at from a seller standpoint, your tolerance to lowering that price and setting that list price a little bit lower could very well help you get it sold faster for a number that honestly, if you leave it on the market, it's probably going to negotiate down to that point anyway. And so it's all a matter of what your goals are. Simply putting a property out there right now with a bigger number and just wait and see what happens is probably going to ultimately lead you to what most are seeing right now, high days on market and some incremental price changes until you eventually get to that sweet spot where buyers are willing to jump in. And so this property took advantage of that by saying, hey, we're going to just be aggressive from the outset. So as you consider that strategy, that's something we would definitely talk about if and when you decided to sell your property. So, and then finally, let's look at the closed in this section for the B units. We had 6 that have closed in the last 6 months. Sold prices on these is $963,333, and so the one that's under contract, factoring in where the recent sales have been, priced their home at $975, got a contract in place. Sold price per square foot at $573, sold to list ratio 95.93, 59 days on market for these sold properties. So what we saw with these, and you can see the average list price for these originally was at that $981 number, which is pretty aggressive in my opinion in terms of how it compares to the current active sitting at over $1 million. So these sellers that got their home sold in the last 6 months, back to what I was just saying when we were talking about the pending home, they really went aggressive on their pricing and they got the deal done. So finally, look at the C units, and I do mean finally this time. The C units actives, we currently have 6 that are on the market. And so as we look at the numbers for the C units, sitting at a list price of $876,733 on average, that's a $701 per square foot. and 79 days on market. Again, this one could very well be skewed by this single property sitting out here at 214 days on market. So that 49, somewhere in between those two numbers, is probably the more realistic and understandable days on market average for these properties. So as we look at the pendings, we actually do have 2 C units that are currently pending. And so our stats on those are sitting at a list price for the, on average of the two, sitting at $831 a square foot. List price per square foot of $672, 20 days on market for these properties. I will tell you, these two had some really nice interior finishes. And so that's one thing certainly that we want to factor in as you look at your property comparatively. If you are considering making a move this year, you want that thing to be as clean and crisp, freshly painted, because we have so much competition in terms of these units. Something's going to have to be there to set yours apart. So whether that's the interior decorating, the painting scheme, some updates to some tile in certain places and things of that nature, those are going to be the things that may set your property apart. And then finally now, let's look at the closeds. We've actually had 11 C units that have closed in the last 6 months. And from a statistical standpoint, the sold price for these C units is sitting at $804,636. We have actually seen one as low as $760. Be honest with you, I'm a C unit owner. That number doesn't make me very happy knowing what I purchased my property for back in 2022. But here's where I would say, just hold fast. You know, obviously, if you're in a position where you feel the need to just go ahead and cash out for fear that home prices may continue to pull back a little bit in the Prominence community, I certainly understand that. But what I do believe, and this is my own philosophy for myself as I consider my own property, is we're going to see somewhere later this year, as interest rates soften, if the Fed follows through on what they've told us, that they are going to have multiple cuts this year, if those prices do pull back, I truly believe that the number of buyers that are just simply being pent up by interest rates are going to break loose, and we're going to see some heightened activity. I can't tell you the exact time, but I would say second half of this year, I do anticipate that we're going to see some more buyers coming back to the market as interest rates soften. And I believe that's going to really improve the performance of our community as people look to get into our community. Because as we know as owners, Prominence is one of the best up and down 30A. From an amenity standpoint, from a location standpoint, from age of home and finishes and features, I believe Prominence is one of the best bangs for the dollar up and down 30A, and I promote it often to my clients. And so as we look at this, these sold averages, sold to list ratio 94.02 from the original list price, which is very strong, and then 79 days on market. If you've got questions about any of these numbers and how they may affect the value of your Prominence property, or if you're considering the possibility of potentially selling your home this year, I'd love to connect with you and help answer your questions so that you can make the most informed decision possible. I hope this information has been helpful. You can find my contact information down below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find it in the video description below. And until next month, make it a great day on 30A.